Hello students, today we discuss about the continuation of organisms and population. In that, one among these another subtopic, population. Population growth. Normally, the size of the population at any species, they may not be a static rate and all. They may not be static population. Frequently, the population, it must be changing. Why the population size frequently changing? There are several factors are influencing the changing of the population. What are the factors influencing changing of the population? That is availability of food material. The availability of food material, one among the important characteristic feature, one among the important characteristic factor to influence changing of the population size and all. Another one related to adverse weather. If it is favorable conditions, automatically it increases the size of the population. Whenever unfavorable condition, the size of the population gradually reduces. That is related to weather characteristic features. Then parasitic or influence of the parasites are as well as predation. Pressure of predation. These particular factors influence the changing of the population size at any type of the species population size and all. Then what are the important process which influence the changing of the population size? These are the main factors. What are the fundamental process? What are the fundamental basic process of changing of the population size and all? These are very four processes are present. What are the basic fundamental process to change the population size? That means total number of organisms. First one is the natality or birth rate and all. So, if new individuals are present in given population or related to giving birth in particular period of time or giving birth in a specific period of time in a population, that is related to birth rate and all. Normally, how it represents the birth rate and all? How to calculate in human being for every 1,000 individuals per year, what is the number of individuals takes place birth in a given population, in given particular that specific period of time. Normally, in that population, they must represent, they must calculate it for every once in a decade, once in a 10 years. Normally, they represent it and all. Another one, death rate or mortality. It represents B, it represents D, or natality, small n, or mortality, small m. Here also very simple. The loss of or the death of individuals, the death of offsprings in specific period of time in a population, or the loss of individuals, the loss of species in a specific period of time in a population, that represent or indicates as this one death rate and all, or mortality and all. Then what is meant by vital index? Vital index represent the total number of birth divided by the total number of death into 100. Birth rate by death rate into 100, or natality by mortality into 100. Then it represents the vital index. Then only the original, the population size, the size of the population, that represent with the help of vital index in a specific, that is very important, specific period of time in a population. That is most important. Then immigration. What is meant by immigration? Immigration means coming into the population. Some of the organisms migrate from other place to one specific area of the place and coming into that population. It is very simple. Coming into or joining into that group of the population, into that specified population and all. That is we call as immigration, with the help of migration, because of any different types of factors, different types of any particular characteristic features and some of these either resource regarding related to mating, related to food, related to space, any one among the aspects. Some organisms migrate or join into that population, then automatically it increase. So birth rate plus immigration, it increase the rate of the population, to increase the population density and all. Similarly, another fundamental process and immigration, that symbol E and all. So going out in a given population, going out from that population, are left out in a given population in a specific period of time. That is, it represents, we call it as immigration. So death rate as well as immigration to decrease the population size. Very simple. Birth rate, immigration represent to increase the population size. Death rate, immigration to increase the population size. So here, if you calculate how to calculate the population density and all. Already said, what is the population density? It represents capital N and all. In given area, total number of the organisms in a specified area, total number of individuals in one particular unit or a specific parameter in a given area, total number of the organisms. That is population density. How it represents population density? This is population density. This is the birth rate plus immigrants. So B plus I, it increase population density. Then how to decrease population density? Death plus immigrants. Death plus immigrants, then to decrease the population density. Whenever population size decrease, automatically population density also it reduces and all. Here, how to write this population density? That is, in given time period, either 1 year, either 10 years, either 50 years, either 1 month, any one specific period of time, in given specific period of time, the total number of individuals, how many number, the death rate, how many number, the birth rate, all these, if you, in exam point of view also, in examiner, they must give the birth rate as well as death rate. Then you calculate the specific, the growth rate and all. In this given period of time, that is, it represents in that specific period of time plus birth rate as well as immigration minus death rate plus immigration. It indicates population density and all. This population density represent very clearly birth rate immigration to increase, death rate immigration to decrease the population density and all. So, based on population density, they give different types of this population, that means that growth models and all. What are the growth models are present? There are two growth models are they represented. What is that one? One is the exponential growth. Another one is the sigmoid growth. One is the exponential. Another one is the sigmoid growth and all. Exponential growth. In a given population, specific period of time, what is the rate of population size? What is the rate of population? Just now I said the rate of population calculate truly, that is most important. Observe very carefully. The true rate of population growth represent birth rate as well as death rate, but not represented immigrants as well as immigrant. These are temporary for the sake of food or for the sake of mating, for the sake of shelter or for the sake of any other resources. After completion they fulfill. After completion their particular habit or their resources. After fulfill their resources, again they left from given population. That's why the true population rate, growth rate, it represents or indicates only based on birth rate as well as death rate only. That is original growth rate and all. But when in a population we called as the exponential growth and all, whenever especially resources, if it is available, what are the resources? The major resources, food as well as space and all. This, the abundant, uncontrolled, that is important. Abundant, then uncontrolled, maximum availability of food as well as availability of the space. Then abundantly availability of food material as well as appropriate space is available, then in a specific area in that particular given population, automatically it increased enormously, it increased extremely. Then what are the phases present in that exponential growth and all? In exponential growth, the resources, if it is uncontrolled or unlimited, uncontrolled, then it increases enormously. In this one, what are the phases present? That exponential growth, normally, what is the shape of exponential growth rate? They give many options, either I shape, either S shape, either J shape, either K shape. What is your option? That is a J shape. Exponential growth. Graphically, it represents J shape and all. In this J shape, here what are the phases are present? The first initiation phase, that is lag phase. Then only the organisms are ready to adjust in that specific environmental condition, ready to multiply, ready to grow. That is the first phase, that is lag phase and all. Then log phase, that means exponential phase. Log phase means exponential, maximum growth rate and all. Exponential, enormously in a given period of time, in given population, exponentially, maximum, it reached to the maximum number, log phase. Then whenever abundant, whenever uncontrolled, whenever very short span, maximum number. Why? Because in that J shape, frequently, very quickly, very shortly, very short span, the number of individuals, it increases and all. But whatever very quick, whenever it increases the number of the population, it may not be stable maximum period of time. Then immediately it declined. Because of this particular reason and then it leads to the crash phase. That massive death, abnormal, whatever abnormal growth, immediately in one particular or a specific area, whenever it reaches, then massive death of the individuals. Then there is a crash phase. During the crash phase, in this J shape, normally we observe the insect population. Here normally, example, insect population. First of all, what is the main reason? What is the main reason to discuss about this population growth? Different types of these models or rates, all these one. How in our nature the organisms, either plants as well as animals, they control in specified manner. Similarly, human beings also must follow based on the nature. Otherwise, due to enormous increasing of population, maximum as well as a lot of problems we must face in our future. At present also we are facing. Future also we must face the same problems in our future generations also. That's why how to control the population growth with the help of the nature, with the help of how related to animals as well as plants and all. In this one, this population growth rate, how to remember, how to calculate in per capita and all. The growth rate in that growth rate per capita, that means a specific individual, if it is birth, B letter, if it is death, D letter, that indicates and all. It may not represent total all along with the population. It represents individual organism. The growth rate, it represents per capita, that means per individual. A specific individual organisms, here representation and all. That's why here we have written per capita. Then it must knowing about the original rate of the growth and all. Here in this per unit area, the population, the growth rate, the population density per unit area per capita and all. Here dn by dt, that is equal to b minus d into n and all. Here, what is meant by dn by dt? Changing of population size and all. Changing of population size, it is equivalent to the birth rate minus death rate into original population size. Here, n represent population size. Here, dn by dt equal to changing of population size, whereas n equal to the given population size and the number of individuals and all. In that, what is the total number, the birth rate as well as death rate and all. This is in per capita, per unit area, what is the growth rate, what is the population density, that is equal to this one. Here, B minus D, birth rate, here, birth rate minus death rate is equal to R. R act as a vital role, principal role, the growth rate of the population, what it indicates, what it represents, that small r and r. Intrinsic rate of natural growth and all. Intrinsic rate of natural increase and all. That means birth rate as well as death rate, if you know, instead of birth and death rate, simply you write R and R. R is equal to intrinsic rate of natural population increase. Very simple, increasing of population through naturally. That means if it is death rate, if it is birth rate, we know, automatically we must know about increase the rate of natural population increase and all. That it represents and all. Based on this R value, if you know birth rate as well as death rate, what is the R value related to Norway cat and all? R value of Norway cat, that is R value that is equal to 0.015. If you know about their birth rate as well as death rate, automatically we also understood the R value of the Norway cat related to the R value of in human population. What is the human population related to various period of times and all? Suppose if it is 1981, that is human population in 1981, that is 0.0205. In 1981 human population, the natural increase, that means intrinsic natural increase the population and all. Similarly, this R value in 2001, in 2011, these are how we calculated this one. If already we know the birth rate as well as death rate, so exam point of view, they must give what is the birth rate, what is the death rate. If already they have given, then it must be calculated dn by dt based on this one, whenever increase or decrease these particular aspects. What is the R value of floor beating? The R value of 0.12, this one. Then when that R value, but recently 2016, the human population, the intrinsic rate it becomes increase, that is 1.019 and all. Why it increase the population related to R value and all? Because of at present the death rates are decreases when you compare to birth rates and all. That's why R value gradually increases in human population, especially Indian population. Because of main reason the death rates are decreases when you compare to the birth rates and all. Such type of hospitality, such type of new, the surgical as well as all these hospital, these particular equipments, all these chemicals, medicines, the modern or technical medications are available. Based on this one, gradually increase the R value. In 2016, 1.019. Because of when you compare to earlier, it gradually increases based on decrease the death rate, increase the birth rate and all. So based on this one, what is the intrinsic, what is that specific logarithmic value? What is the logarithmic value if you while calculating purpose and in this one, Nt is equal to N0 ERT. Here, what is the meaning of Nt and all? So, this is the integral value of the density of the population. It represents integral value of the population density. Here, what is the meaning of Nt? So, in exam point of view, what is the, already they give the equation Nt is equal to N0 ERT and all. N0 ERT and all. This is, it represents 0. What it indicates here, N0 what it represents, E what it represents, R what it represents, Nt what it represents. That very simply you must indicate and all. Suppose Nt, population density after time, after given time and all. After given time t and all. Population density at time 0. That means initial, whenever it ready to initiate it and all. Then E represent logarithmic, the base of the logarithmic value, that is 2.71828 and all, base of logarithmic value and all. Then R is the intrinsic rate of the rate of natural increase of population. Then T represent as this one, the specific related to time period and all, whether it is initial, whether it is after, whether it is specific period of time and all. What is the equation represented J-shaped or exponential growth rate and all. So whenever they give, what is the equation related to exponential growth rate and all. So equation for exponential growth rate, it represents dn by dt Rn, that is equal to Rn, or according to our textbook they have given dn by dt is equal to Rn. So both are same and all. Here already, so this is the equation related to exponential growth rate and all. dn by dt, changing of the population size. Here n population size, changing of population size. Then or what it represent are intrinsic rate of natural increase and all. Intrinsic rate of natural increasing of the population. That is, it represent as this one R. That is, R is very important. Here R represented that intrinsic rate of that natural increase. That it is increase the population rate and all in this exponential growth and all. Then related to another growth model B, that is the sigmoid and all. Related to B, another growth model, sigmoid growth model or logistic growth. Are related to logistic growth. Here, name itself represent what is the shape of logistic growth and all. What is the shape of exponential growth? J shape. What is the equation? Related equation of exponential growth, dn by dt equal to Rn, or dn by dt Rn is equal to Rn. But what is the shape of related to logistic growth or sigmoid growth and all? S shaped and all. Especially most of the population, most of the organism, most of the species, the population growth rate normally it represent sigmoid curve. That means S-shaped curve only. There, if you take example like in this exponential growth, insects and all. Best example of exponential growth, insects. Normally, the lifespan, normally because the reproductive ability it is more according to favorable condition. Unfavorable condition, again it enter into the crash phase and all. Example of this one. Rest of most of the organisms it represent S-shaped and all or sigmoid curve and all. In this sigmoid curve and all, then Wendell's Pierre, the scientist in 1839, explained about the sigmoid curve or logistic growth rate. Maximum number of the organism, maximum number of the species is present. This sigmoid and all. In this growth curve, so what are the phases are present in this growth rate? Normal phases are present. That is lag phase. That means initiation phase, ready to adjust in that given environmental condition. Very slow growth rate, related to slow because of given area, the organisms ready to adjust. Then only it ready to start. They increase the population number and all. Then positive accelerated phase. Positive accelerated phase, then ready to start to increase the rate of population. So ready to start to increase. Already it adjusted. Then it begins to increase the population and all. Then log phase or exponential phase. log phase or exponential phase. Here, enormous, extreme, increase the rate of population. Extreme, increase the rate of population and all. Again, negative, it is present, negative, accelerated phase. Again, to reduce the population size. Then static phase. The last phase is the static or plateau phase. Then to stop the growth rate. What is the main reason which it stops their growth rate and completely? They may not be banned, they may not be extincted, but the population ready to dispersal whenever reach to this one. What is the main reason? Many different phases when you compare to the exponential and here. What I said in exponential growth, the resources are unlimited. That is most important one. Exponential growth represent whenever resources are unlimited, whenever availability of space is enormous, then exponential growth rate takes place and all. Why the logistic growth? Why it becomes into the S shape and all instead of J shape and all? Here the resources like availability of food, then arrangement of that specific space and all, it is controlled, limited. So limited resources, whenever the sigmoid here represent limited resources like food as well as space, it becomes very limited and all. Whenever limited, automatically in specific area it ready to stop. Wherever that capacity, that means in that specific area or the specific habitat, total number of organisms stop their growth and all. Because of more than that particular area, there is no availability of food material, maximum immigration, maximum death rate. That means survivability in specific area, survivability of the organism in one specific area. More than that area, unable to growth and all, but ready to emigrate, ready to dispersal of the population. That area is represent carrying capacity. So logistic growth, it is also represent carrying capacity. What is the equation? What is that population density? Normally it represented population density represent to, that means equational exponential growth dn by dt Rn and all. Then similarly, what is the population density in logistic growth and all? Population density in logistic growth. So, population density or equation of logistic growth. What is the population density? How it represented under? It represents dn by dt is equal to Rn k minus n by k. That is equal to Rn I minus n by k. There is also whether according to textbook they have given up to here, but it is also equivalent to here. But just now I said, what is meant by dn by dt? Changing population size. What is meant by R? Here very important. Biotic potential. Here R is represent biotic potential, that means reproductive potential. Whenever reproductive potential, availability of resources, then more maximum multiplication of organisms and all. biotic potential or reproductive potential here. Then related to what is n by k, that means the total k minus n by k, it represents environmental resistance or environmental resistance and all. According to environment, whether temperature, whether cold, whether humidity, whether rainfall, whether type of the soil, availability of food material, availability of the space, all the environmental resources, environmental of resistance, the organism which resists against adverse environmental condition, even whatever it may be, ready to reach to the specific area and all. That is, in this n, you know, number of the size of the population n, k is equal to carrying capacity. Carrying capacity. In such a manner, this logistic growth rate, it represented and all. Based on all these one, simply graphically we represent. In graphically, all these things, if you represent graphically, how to represent a graphical? One among the axis, time, another axis, population density. N represent population density, T represent time period and all. In this one, up to here, the carrying capacity, it represent K. K represent carrying capacity. Carrying capacity means the survivability of the species in a specific area. That means which are availability of the resources, very limited resources, not unlimited, very limited resources. Then, whenever according to time, the population density, if it is increases, it represents exponential growth and all. This exponential growth represents dn by dt is equal to Rn. It indicates exponential growth. Among whatever I said, very simple with graphically, exponential growth, there is a J shape and all. Then, if it is logistic growth, it represents S shape and all. This is dn by dt is equal to Rn k minus n by k and all. This is logistic growth. Logistic growth and all. Just know what I said, different types of phases I said just now in logistic growth. Then if it represents logistic growth, the first one, that is the lag phase, the second one, the positive accelerated phase, then the third one, exponential phase or log phase. First one is the lag phase, then positive accelerated phase, then exponential or log phase, then again the negative accelerated phase, then here static or plateau phase. So in this we segregate like this manner, but in J-shaped one, lag phase, log phase and crash phase, only three phases are present here. Broadly, lag, log and static, three only. If you want to detail manner, beyond that lag phase, lag means initiation, very slow growth. L-A-G, lag, related to initiation, very slow. L-O-G, log, exponential, enormous availability of the resources. Then again static and all. So that is a representation of this growth rate, different types of both logistic as well as exponential growth and all. So in this logistic growth, here, what is the meaning of I? I represent immigration, related to migrant, entering of the population into that population and all. Here I represent immigration and all. Then continuation, related to life history variations and all. That is life history variations. In a population, what type of life history variations are present? It depends upon natural selection, the Darwin's natural selection, survival of the fitness, that means biotic potential, reproductive ability, the organism maximum or minimum, depends upon maximum, the reproductive ability. The reproductive ability of the organism, whether increase or decrease, according to survival of fittest and all. In this particular theory, it indicates and all, it depends and all. Based on this one, some of the organisms only once in its lifespan it reproduces. After that, it death and all. What type of organisms? Like Pacific salmon fish, as well as bamboo tree. These two organisms related to plant, related to animal, only once in its lifespan it ready to reproduce. After completion of reproduction, it must be death and all. That is only once in its lifespan. Then some of the organisms, maximum number with the small size of organism. Maximum number of individuals with the small size. That means oysters. Example, zooplankton as well as oysters. Some of the organism, less number, large size of organisms. Less number of individuals with large size. Example, mammals and birds. Like that life history variation. Some of the organism only once in its lifespan. Some organism large and less number, large size with less number. That is important. What type of organisms with reproduce large size of individuals with less number of individuals and similarly small size of individuals with the maximum number of organisms, that is related to zooplankton or pelagic organisms, oyster as well as pelagic organisms. That means zooplanktons and these organisms related to maximum number. Then, so either small size, whether maximum size, related to size, related to number. What is the main reason respectable of the specific individuals and all? It represents the main factor, both abiotic and biotic factor. The organisms, whether it is maximum number of time, whether it is maximum period of time, whether it is less period of time, whether it is maximum survivability, for example, human being more survivability rather than remaining organisms and all, or some of the invertebrates or some of these reptiles, little bit various their lifespan and all. In its life cycle, it depends upon life cycle. According to why, whether life cycle, whether it is changing, less lifespan, more lifespan. Majorly, it depends upon abiotic, like whatever I said, temperature, light, soil, all these abiotic, apart from humidity, rainfall, all these one, apart from biotic, parasitic, predators, all. It is also abiotic in that sense. Along with this one, food, availability of shelter, it is also one among the important characteristic features and all. So, these main factors influence the various life history of organisms. Okay, remaining concept we discuss in next class. Thank you.